This video is not financial advice and does not constitute an individual investment recommendation. 72% of Americans report spending money to cope with negative emotions. That's from the American Psychological Association's annual stress report. In other words, nearly 3 out of 4 people use purchasing as a way to feel better right now. It's called retail therapy. And from a neuroscience standpoint, it works. Temporarily. Exactly like a painkiller that masks the symptom without treating the cause. The neuroscience. When you see a desired item, the nucleus accumbens, a key node in your brain's reward system, activates and releases dopamine. The same mechanism that responds to food, sex, and addictive substances. Critical detail: the dopamine peak is at anticipation in purchase, not at receiving. This explains why the item often disappoints after arrival, and why you soon need another purchase. The brain isn't seeking the thing. It's seeking the dopamine. 5 primary triggers. 1. Stress and anxiety, buying to restore the feeling of control in an uncertain situation. 2. Boredom, buying as stimulation. 3. Sadness and loneliness, buying as self-reward in connection to something desired. 4. Anger, impulsive purchases as emotional release. 5. Euphoria and celebration, festive spending that feels deserved. Each trigger has its own internal logic. Each is expensive. Stress deserves separate analysis. Under acute stress, the brain shifts to immediate reward seeking. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for long-term planning, reduces activity. This means, exactly when financial discipline matters most, financial decisions are made worst. People take out high-interest loans during financial panic. Spend savings to create a feeling of control. Buy unnecessary items because the act of choosing anything restores a sense of agency in a situation that feels out of control. E-commerce made emotional spending measurably more dangerous for 3 reasons. First, 24/7 availability, late-night anxiety or insomnia-driven purchases. Second, no physical transaction, tapping a button is psychologically easier than handing over cash. The friction that creates pause is removed. Third, algorithms trained on your behavior that know your preferences and your moments of vulnerability. This is not accidental design. It's intentional. 3 questions that create the pause between trigger and purchase. 1. What am I feeling right now? If the answer includes stress, boredom, sadness, or irritation, that's a trigger, not a need. 2. Was I thinking about this purchase before today? If not, it's an impulse, not a considered decision. 3. If I wait 24 hours, will I still want this? The 24-hour rule for unplanned purchases above a certain amount is the simplest and most effective filter against emotional spending. Conservative estimate for an average emotional spender. 3 unplanned purchases per week at an average of $30 each. That's $90 per week, $4,680 per year. Invested at the S&P 500's historical 10% average return, over 10 years that becomes $75,000. Emotional spending isn't small amounts. It's one of the largest hidden wealth drains in most household budgets. If shopping addresses emotions, you need other ways to address those emotions. Neurologically validated alternatives. For stress, exercise is the only intervention that reduces cortisol as rapidly as the dopamine hit from purchasing. For boredom, novelty without spending, a new route, a library book, a skill. For sadness and loneliness, human contact. A phone call to a friend outperforms any purchase for mood. For anger, physical activity or writing something you don't send. Research consistently shows spending on experiences provides more lasting well-being than spending on objects. Objects adapt to background, they stop providing joy within weeks. Memories of experiences improve over time. The same amount of money spent on a dinner with someone you love versus a new gadget produces systematically different long-term well-being outcomes. If you want to spend on enjoyment, spend on experience. The brain responds differently. Concrete tool, financial boundaries. Not a budget rules. Examples. No purchases after 10 p.m., statistically the most vulnerable window for impulse buying. No purchases within 30 minutes of a conflict or stressful conversation. No major purchases on days when you haven't slept. No online shopping while social media is open in another tab. Rules established in advance require far less willpower than decisions made in the moment of emotional trigger. The most sustainable long-term solution isn't suppressing the emotional need. It's redirecting it. Stress needs relief, redirect to exercise. Loneliness needs connection, redirect to a real person. Boredom needs stimulation, redirect to a genuinely novel experience. Anxiety needs control, redirect to an action that actually addresses the uncertainty. When the underlying need is genuinely addressed, the shopping impulse loses most of its urgency. The term retail therapy appeared in American press in 1986 as a tongue-in-cheek description of shopping to lift one's mood. By the 2000s, it became a serious research subject. Studies confirmed shopping genuinely improves mood temporarily through the dopamine mechanism. This isn't weakness or stupidity. It's the exploitation of a normal neurological mechanism by a multi-trillion-dollar industry specifically engineered for this purpose. Decision fatigue is well documented. By evening, after a day of decisions, self-control reserves are depleted. Research tracking online purchase timing shows most impulsive purchases happen between 8 and 11 p.m. You're tired. Your self-control is diminished. Advertising is sophisticated. Accessibility is maximum. These are the ideal conditions for emotional spending. The simplest defense: don't access retail apps or websites after 9 p.m. Fear of missing out is a powerful emotional trigger for spending. Sale ends in 2 hours. Limited availability. First 100 customers only. These mechanics are engineered to create loss aversion, the fear of missing something, and shut down rational evaluation. FOMO is amplified by social media, where everyone appears to constantly acquire, experience, and celebrate. The purchase removes the anxiety of missing out, while creating financial anxiety that lasts longer. Concrete tracking tool. For every unplanned purchase, record 3 pieces of information: what you bought, how much you spent, what you were feeling before. Review monthly. Most people identify 2 or 3 dominant emotional triggers accounting for a significant portion of their unplanned spending. Once the pattern is visible, its automatic power decreases. Invisible behavior is hardest to change. Visible behavior is changeable. Research on impulse purchase regret shows that if a 72-hour gap exists between the impulse and the purchase, approximately 80% of impulse desires disappear. 72 hours is 3 days. Simple in principle. Psychologically difficult in the moment. Practice: add to cart. Do not check out. Come back after 3 days. Most items in the cart look strange, even slightly embarrassing, 3 days later. The impulse was real. The need was not. A significant portion of emotional spending happens in social contexts. Coworkers going to an expensive lunch, awkward to opt out. Friends planning an expensive trip, uncomfortable to say it's not in the budget. This social pressure activates fear of rejection and social exclusion. Directness helps: this doesn't fit my budget this month. Most people respond with respect. Those who don't, that's useful information about the relationship. Counterintuitive advice: don't try to eliminate emotional spending entirely. This is both unrealistic and creates excessive pressure that makes compliance worse. Instead, create a designated budget line for it. Call it a joy fund or a mood budget. A specific monthly amount you spend on pleasure without guilt. When it's gone until next month. Legalizing small pleasures removes the shame cycle that often makes emotional spending worse and more compulsive. The cycle runs this way. Unpleasant emotion creates discomfort. Thought of purchase removes the discomfort through anticipation. Purchase produces temporary relief. Adaptation to what was purchased returns the discomfort. Need for a new purchase. This is the classical addiction cycle structure. Not as acute as chemical addictions, but mechanically identical. The consumer economy did not create this vulnerability. It discovered it and built a multi-trillion-dollar industry on top of it. A practical alternative that satisfies the same psychological needs is shopping, watching an investment portfolio grow. Seeing the balance increase activates the reward system. Hitting a savings milestone produces a dopamine response. The sense of control and agency that shopping mimics temporarily real investing provides sustainably. The difference: one depletes resources while providing the reward. The other builds resources while providing the same reward. The deepest solution to emotional spending: developing emotional literacy. The ability to identify, name, and process emotions without needing to act on them through purchasing. This is learnable. It doesn't require therapy, though therapy accelerates it. It requires practice, pausing, naming what you feel, and choosing a response that genuinely addresses the emotion. One question before any unplanned purchase: what am I actually feeling right now? That question, practiced consistently, is the most powerful emotional spending intervention available. Most financial education teaches mechanics, accounts, funds, rates, calculations. But research consistently shows knowing what to do explains only a fraction of whether people actually do it. The deeper driver is emotional beliefs formed before age 7. Mechanics without psychology is half a toolkit. The program runs deeper than the knowledge. The best defense against your own financial psychology is automation. Decisions made once in a calm rational state: automatic 401k contributions, scheduled index fund purchases, automatic bill payments, replace potentially dozens of emotionally influenced monthly decisions. One good decision made once protects you from the version of yourself making decisions at 11 p.m. after a stressful day. Financial outcomes are determined less by a few large decisions and more by the accumulation of small daily choices. The daily coffee is not the issue. The pattern of hundreds of small emotionally driven purchases is. The same pattern in reverse: small consistent investments, automatic contributions, redirected impulse purchases compounds into a fundamentally different financial position over 20 years. Small decisions compound. In both directions. 3 books that rewire financial thinking at the psychology level. Morgan Housel, The Psychology of Money, specific stories about how emotions and beliefs drive financial outcomes. Daniel Kahneman, Thinking Fast and Slow, The Foundational Science of How the Brain Makes Decisions Under Uncertainty. Brad Klontz, Mind Over Money, direct work on financial scripts and deep money beliefs. Read in this order. Financial well-being is not a state you reach and maintain effortlessly. It's a practice. Like physical fitness, not a diet you do once but a way of living you maintain. Psychological patterns return. Markets change. Life circumstances change. Financial psychology is a skill that develops and requires upkeep. Not as heavy labor, as conscious habit that becomes easier with time. The most important thing to understand: your current relationship with money is not fixed. It formed through experience. It can change through new experience. The beliefs you have about what you deserve, what's possible, what money means, these are learned. They can be unlearned and replaced. This is not a quick process. But it is a real one. The brain changes through consistent new experience. That's neuroplasticity in the most practical form. One action to take before this tab closes. Open the Notes app on your phone. Write one money belief from your childhood. Write one financial habit you want to change. Write one specific step you'll take this week. 3 lines. 3 minutes. This is how change begins, not through inspiration but through commitment written down. The psychology of money changes through action, not through watching content about the psychology of money. Your environment shapes your financial behavior more than your willpower does. If you live surrounded by people who spend on status and update their cars every 2 years, you feel the pull. If your phone has retail apps on the home screen, you browse more. If your 401k is opt-in rather than opt-out, you contribute less. Changing your environment, not just your intentions, produces lasting behavioral change with less daily effort. The core insight of financial psychology in 3 sentences. 1. You know what you should do financially, the problem is usually psychological, not informational. 2. Your financial behavior today is shaped by beliefs formed before you were old enough to critically evaluate them. 3. Those beliefs can change through new experience, new environment, and deliberate practice. Everything else in this video is elaboration on these 3 sentences. When changing financial behavior, start with the change that requires the least willpower and gives the clearest feedback. Usually that's automation. Open a Roth IRA. Set it to invest $50 per month automatically. Done. Now every month a small piece of your paycheck builds tax-free. You don't decide, you don't feel it, you don't talk yourself out of it. One automated action, installed once, working permanently. The single mindset shift that changes the most, moving from I don't have enough to I decide how to use what I have. Scarcity thinking is reactive. It waits for more before acting. Intentional thinking acts with what exists now. Even $5 per month invested intentionally, with understanding of why, is a different relationship with money than $500 saved by default without awareness. The amount matters less than the intentionality. Financial tools, accounts, funds, budgets, strategies work when your psychology supports using them consistently. Without that foundation, the best financial plan in the world produces inconsistent results. Start with understanding your financial psychology. Then build the systems. The sequence matters. Psychology first. Tools second. In that order, both compound. Multiple large studies have examined whether education level predicts financial decision quality. The consistent finding, formal education weakly predicts financial behavior. Stronger predictors are financial socialization in childhood, specific financial skill development, and emotional relationship with money. A PhD economist with unresolved money anxiety makes systematically worse financial decisions than a high school graduate with a healthy financial program. Research shows financial outcomes correlate significantly with the financial habits of your 5 closest contacts. If your social circle treats wealth as suspicious and savings as deprivation, your behavior trends toward theirs. Finding 1 or 2 people with healthy financial habits creates an accountability relationship. Not expensive financial advisors. Just people sharing a journey honestly. Shared goals compound like interest. Every powerful financial strategy, compound investing, behavioral change, thermostat recalibration, requires the same resource, time. American culture is biased toward immediate feedback and quick returns. This cultural bias works against the most effective financial behaviors. The investors who build real wealth across decades share one trait more than any other: they are comfortable waiting. Patience isn't passive. It's an active practice in a world of constant stimulation. Here's the sequence that produces lasting financial change. First, understand your financial psychology, beliefs, triggers, thermostat level, emotional relationship with money. Second, build systems that work with your psychology rather than against it, automation, pre-committed rules, environment design. Third, add mechanics, specific accounts, funds, tax strategies. In this order, all 3 layers work together. In any other order, the mechanics don't stick. If this topic connected with you, 2 directions for going deeper. First, Morgan Housel's The Psychology of Money. Short, story-based, immediately applicable to your own financial decisions. Second, Brad Clontze's research on financial scripts, widely available through his website and published papers. Both give you frameworks for understanding your own financial programming. Start with Housel if you haven't read it. It's the most accessible entry point. The most useful reframe: money is not a measure of your worth as a person. Money is a tool. It does what you direct it to do, or it does what your psychology directs it to do by default. Taking conscious control of that direction requires understanding the psychology first. Your income is the output of current skills, market conditions, and decisions. Your value as a human being is not subject to market fluctuations. These are different categories. Keep them separate. 3 things you can do by Monday. 1. Open your Notes app and write one money belief you want to examine from your childhood. 2. Check if your 401k contributions are automated. If not, set it up today. 3. The next time you feel the urge to make an unplanned purchase, wait 24 hours first. 3 actions. 0 cost. They won't transform your finances overnight, but they start the sequence that will. Every psychological pattern discussed in this video operates on a timescale that your financial decisions also operate on. The thermostat took years to calibrate, it takes years to recalibrate. Compound interest takes decades to show its full power. Behavioral change takes months to become habit. The financial and psychological timelines are aligned. Patience with both the money and the psychology is what produces outcomes that actually change how you live. The core message in one sentence: your financial behavior is driven more by psychology than by knowledge, and psychology changes through deliberate new experience. Every practical step in this video, the journal, the rules, the letter exercise, the audit, is a way to create that new experience. Start with 1. The one that feels most relevant to your situation right now. Financial well-being is not a gift distributed at birth to certain people and denied to others. It's a skill set. A set of beliefs that can be examined. A set of behaviors that can be practiced. A set of systems that can be built. Every person watching this has the capacity to develop a healthier relationship with money. The starting point differs. The destination is achievable from any starting point. One question worth sitting with after this video: what do I believe about money that I absorbed before I could evaluate it? Not what do I know about money intellectually, but what do I feel and believe at the gut level? That belief set is running the show whether you're aware of it or not. Awareness is the first step to conscious direction. And conscious direction, applied consistently, is the entire game. Comment below: what's your main emotional spending trigger? Stress, boredom, loneliness, or something else? Naming it is already the self-awareness working. If this gave you a tool you'll actually use, hit like. Subscribe and ring the bell for more breakdowns. See you next time.